Welcome, wrestling fans. Welcome to Curtain Jerkin. As always, I'm your host, Jacob Grondy, reporting for the Main Event Marks YouTube channel. You can also check me out on Spotify. However you're listening to my voice, I appreciate it. I know I just recorded an episode last night. I might put this one up technically on Thursday night after I recorded the other one on Tuesday night because I stayed up so late. It's now 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, which is late for me, guys. Usually I go to bed around 10 o'clock. Got to keep up with my training, my running, and everything like that. But I was cleaning the house, watching Dynamite on my computer, and before you know it, I was done with Dynamite, typed up my notes, and I was ready to give you guys my thoughts and opinions, also my predictions on AEW Full Gear. But before we get into all that, let's go into my thoughts on NXT. I know I don't really talk about this too much, but I had a little time to watch the YouTube clips, which honestly is like 50 minutes of like a 90-minute show. They take out all the entrances for the most part, and then you have, a pretty good idea of what happened on NXT. I do it for Raw a lot of the time, and I do it for SmackDown a lot of the time. It's a great way to catch up on WWE without having to sit down on a certain day and time and watch the television show. It takes up a lot of time, where these YouTube clips are great. And then you can skip Tegan Nox matches if you wanted to. Lots of main roster stars on NXT. Show right at the beginning. The show starts out with Baron Corbin and Dominic Mysterio talking in the back. Tony D'Angelo and Stax win the tag championships. I haven't seen an NXT tag match in probably a few years, so I wasn't sure the significance of this title win. I don't know if this tag titles are like playing hot potato right now, but they did beat Chase U after members of Chase U left the building. They were sitting in the stands. Like I said before, I don't know too much about it. I do feel bad for Cole Carter getting fired by the WWE. He was a part of this faction that just won the tag titles. Now he's in AEW and kind of just fell to obscurity. I like Chase U because I was a big fan of the Bravado Brothers in Ring of Honor. In fact, one time I was working at the Coliseum, and Chase U, this gentleman here, a Bravado brother at the time in Ring of Honor, I was a security guard, believe it or not, at a J. Cole concert. And I had to hold the big crowd back. And the first group of people that were standing in the front who were very excited to see J. Cole and Big Crit, one of them was Chase U. And he told me he was going to be a WWE superstar. He was wearing a CM Punk shirt. He was a Ring of Honor wrestler at the time. So, it was feasible, his goals. And here he is in NXT. He had to abandon his brothers. I think his brother retired, and I know he had a match with Nick Aldis when Nick Aldis was the NWA champion. It's just cool to see, cool to follow his career. Never thought he would get this far, and he was the NXT Tag Champion, and he just lost it. Wes Lee and Ilya Dragunov in the back talking over the main event, talking about how Wes Lee is taking on Baron Corbin later on tonight. Corbin talking to Lexis King allegedly attacking Trick Williams while Corbin was getting ready for his match. And then we had the main event, Corbin versus Lee. Dominic shows up. Lee takes him out with a diving senton and throws some hands for good measure, but this does allow Baron Corbin to hit the end of days 1, 2, 3 and get the victory. Too many distraction finishes in NXT and WWE for the most part nowadays. Corbin stays on Wesley, jumping him more or less, picking the bones like a true asshole. But then the NXT champion Dragunov comes out like a badass, but gets attacked and hit with the end of days as well. The man that retired Kurt Angle is just running through all the NXT talent, and then Dragunov challenges him to a title match. I don't think they're going to put the title on Baron Corbin, but I do think that, someone who doesn't watch NXT but watches the main roster and doesn't know who Dragunov is, you tell him that he beat people like Walter and Baron Corbin, it can only help him. So I think this is a good title match. More main roster. Alpha Academy on the Supernova sessions. Noam Dar, who is the host of these Supernova sessions, hanging around WWE for a long time, like 7 years now. He's 205 Live, NXT UK, and now NXT. You gotta love Tozawa joining the Alpha Academy though, Gable and Noam Dar, pretty good match. Xia Li talking to Laya Valkyrie. I'm not really sure what was going on here. It was okay. Brawling Brutes versus this tag team called OTM. This was a solid match here. Brutes get the win. Braun Breaker. When is he going to get called up? I mean, shit. Bring him up already. Dijak interrupts him. And these two could probably have a pretty good match. They're going to bring back the Iron Survivor Challenge match, which I'm a pretty big fan of. It's pretty much like the old school TNA King of the Mountain match, except for all the wrestlers aren't coming out at once. They come out in 5-minute increments. So 5 wrestlers wrestle for 25 minutes. 2 superstars start, and then every 5 minutes another superstar joins, and the wrestler who has the most falls at the end of it gets a title shot. Or it's King of the Mountain, however you look at it. I like this when they did it in TNA. In fact, I think it was 2007, I went out to Nashville with my uncle, and I saw a King of the Mountain match. It was, I think, Wildcat, Chris Harris, Samoa Joe, Christian Cage, AJ Styles, Kurt Angle. I'm sure I'm missing somebody in the match, but I just remember AJ Styles just took a crazy bump from the penalty box, because when you lose in these Iron Survivor matches or King of the Mountain matches, you take the pin, so your opponent who pins you gets a point, but then you have to go to a penalty box for a few minutes. I know it's convoluted, but it's fun to watch. So that's my thoughts on NXT. I don't really watch a lot of NXT. I might do the YouTube thing for a while. I don't know if I'm going to catch it on television. I don't know if it interests me enough to catch it on TV. And as much as I bring up the fact that there's these main roster talents taking up a lot of the show, what I wanted to do was I clicked on NXT and I was like, let me look at where the main roster stars were, and let me just watch that so I have something to talk about. And when I did that, I found myself watching most of the show. So bringing on these main roster stars worked. Here I am talking about the show on my show and knowing what's happening on the show because of these main roster stars. So as much as I like the idea of seeing younger wrestlers on a show, that's not what worked here to catch my attention and catch my eyes. So you can't really blame them for bringing on wrestlers like the Brawling Brutes, who they're not really using on SmackDown right now, and Baron Corbin, who they're not using on SmackDown right now in NXT. But jumping over to AEW Dynamite, I'm going to give you guys my overall thoughts before I rank every single match from worst to first. Hangman Page and Swerve face to face. Hangman cutting deep here, bringing up Swerve getting fired, bringing up Swerve's divorce. That's a shoot divorce. I don't know about the thing he said about his kids not wanting to speak to him. I don't know anything about that. And then he said he was going to steal Nana's weed. I mean, leave his stash out of this, Adam Page. And then he attacks Prince Nana, saying that he couldn't, he was contractually obligated to not attack Swerve, but he could attack his buddy, his running mate, his lackey, Prince Nana. That was wild. Strong in the Kingdom in the back. They say they know who is the devil, the man running around the devil mask in AEW. They call Adam Cole, of course, to tell him, and then they just tell him it's MJF. Kind of a silly little thing, kind of reminding us what's going on here with these 4 individuals. Miro promo, always funny. I guess he's going up against Garcia. Always funny, always nonsensical. Going up against Garcia here on Collision. Stardom standout Mariah May, meeting Toni Storm. This was kind of a funny segment, an interesting way to bring in Mariah. I mean, she's hot, she can wrestle, she's got the pedigree of Stardom, just like Toni Storm, which was kind of the reasoning behind this segment. And then you bring her in this comedy spot. We'll have to keep watching. I mean, Toni Storm and Mariah May, I'm not changing the channel when they're on, and they both can go. So I'm patient with this. Stoked to see the Continental Classic. This seems like an AEW G1, and I'm all for it. MJF at the end of the show, cutting a promo, and then Bullet Club comes out. Jay White says he's got 2 words. Get him. Bullet Club attack the champion at the end of the show, and as they cut to the back, Samoa Joe, who wants to be MJF's partner, but MJF just won't pull the trigger and pick him, watching on in the back, kind of arrogantly laughing, just like he did last week. But let's break down every single match from worst to first. Number 6, Joe versus John Cruz. 15-year veteran here. I first saw this guy in 2015 in Winston-Salem for PWX. And cool to see that he's still going at it. Lariat choke out. Cruz taps out. Mid-promo from Joe after the match. The Guns versus Peter Avalon and Jacoby Watts. Watts is a Nightmare Family alumni. 310 to Yuma, 1, 2, 3. Guns get the victory, not much there. Sky Blue and Red Velvet. This match was pretty good here. Red versus Blue, Excalibur says, for anyone who remembers the old internet show. Halo-inspired internet show. Neither lady could put the other one away here. This match was a lot better than I thought it would be going into it. Sky Blue gets the victory, 1, 2, 3. Looking good as ever. Statlander and Hart watching separately in the back. I don't blame them for looking at Sky Blue at all. Number 3 out of 6, Hook and Cassidy versus Mox and Yuta. Brawling in the crowd. Back in the ring. Cassidy going off. Just landing these kicks to Moxley. But Moxley's just hulking up, no selling them. Yuta ends up getting the pin here, pinning Hook. I was surprised about that. They've been kind of pushing Hook for a while now, like Superman, more or less. And then Yuta, the whipping boy of the Blackpool Combat Club, gets the victory, gets the pin on him. Mid-promo from Mox at the end of this one as well. And number 2 out of 6, the Bucks versus Pentagon and Commander. Phoenix is injured, so Commander took his place. This match was hard to kind of call, hard to talk about, but it was very good. I did enjoy the assisted DDT by Commander, followed by the Made in Japan by Pentagon. 1, 2, Bucks kick out. Commander goes for a shooting star, gets caught in the Northern Lights, repeated by Matt Jackson. Getting booed in their hometown here, cheating a bit, kicking both men in the nuts before they hit the Judas effect to get the victory. And then backstage cutting a promo, and they get a little pull apart here between Kenny Omega and Jericho during this backstage promo here. But the best match was the main event because it was a spectacle. It was a shit show. Hold on, I'm just trying to get my notes together here. My notes are a shit show, just like this match. Big Show, Ibushi, Omega, and Jericho on one side. Kyle Fletcher, Brian Cage, Hobbs, and Takeshita on the other. Street fight. I love the Jericho and Big Show suits during this match. Big Show whooping Hobbs' ass in the back before he gets scoop slammed onto a hood of a car. This was a feat of strength, to say the least. Kind of cool to see. Ibushi was riding a bike and kind of these shitty little bat hits. I don't know why he was doing that. But then as he turns to go around the ring, he just gets hit with a huge lariat from Brian Cage. It kind of made the whole thing worth it. And then back in the ring, Takeshita hits a brain buster on that same bike. Like literally a brain buster onto a road bike. That was crazy. Takeshita brawling through the crowd with Jericho. Huge superplex from Cage to Omega. From the top rope, through a table to the floor. Fletcher pile drivers Ibushi through a large, menu you would see at a Japanese restaurant. I don't know why this was out here. I think they had some sort of, advertisement for a video game I had never heard of, nor play, nor want to play. So that's why maybe Jericho and Big Show were in suits. That's why maybe there was, themed Japanese props out there. I don't know. I don't really play a lot of video games. Omega and Jericho tape Hobbs to the rope, clock Cage with a bat, one winged angel, 1, 2, 3. Kenny Omega gets the win for his team. So that's Dynamite. That's every match ranked worst to first. We went over NXT, but now it's time to give you guys my predictions for Full Gear in the forum. You gotta love playing in the forum. MJF and I think it's gonna be Samoa Joe versus the Guns, and I think MJF and Samoa Joe are gonna beat the Guns. Hikaru Shida versus Timeless Toni Storm. I think it's time to put the belt on Timeless Toni Storm. She's the wrestler that you've been spending the most time with on TV. And she's more over than Hikaru Shida. I think Hikaru Shida, unfortunately, is a transitional champion. Sting, Darby Allin, Adam Copeland with Ric Flair in their corner. That's a crazy, crazy foursome there. You got 3 Hall of Famers, 3 legitimate Hall of Famers are already in the WWE Hall of Fame, all 3 of them, and Darby Allin versus Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne. I want to see Nick Wayne and Sting go at it. You got a 61-year-old, and you got Nick Wayne. Orange Cassidy, the international champion, and Jon Moxley. I think that Jon Moxley, they didn't want to take the title off of Jon Moxley when that whole Phoenix situation happened, and they didn't want Phoenix to have the title, so they put it back on Orange Cassidy. So this whole feud is to just get it back onto Jon Moxley so they can just kind of do what they always originally intended to do a few months ago when Jon Moxley beat Orange Cassidy for this championship. It's crazy how much heat that match had compared to how much heat this match has a few months later. Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland talk about heat. I'm pretty excited about this one. These guys can go. Texas Death Match. Both these guys can go technically, but they also aren't scared to have that death match. I mean, Swerve Strickland involved in CCW. Adam Page was in those crazy matches with Jon Moxley earlier this year. So this one's pretty interesting to me. This one might steal the show for me in my opinion. Kenny Omega and Jericho, the Golden Jets versus the Young Bucks. Oh shit, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what they're really doing with Omega or Jericho right now, so might as well give them a tag run. Let them beat the Bucks. Then you got Chris Statlander versus Julia Hart versus Sky Blue. Put the damn title on Sky Blue. That's what I think. Big Bill and Ricky Starks, the champions, versus La Faction Ingobernables, Rus and Jalisco versus FTR versus Kings of the Black Throne. God damn, this, I already talked about one match stealing the show, but this match is going to steal the show. And a damn wrestler that I just named that can't tear the house down. And then you got them all 8 at one time, all working snug. You got the big mans, you got the high flyers, you got the classic tag team with FTR. This match is going to steal the show. I don't think FTR is going to get it. Kings of the Black Throne. I'm going to go Kings of the Black Throne get these tag championships. And speaking of championships, we got the granddaddy of them all as far as AEW, the World Championship. MJF versus Jay White. It's time for MJF to get his title back and beat Jay White. Hopefully something at the beginning of the show set something up interesting for this part of the show. Maybe something with Samoa Joe, maybe something with Wardlow, maybe something with Adam Cole, maybe something with Roderick Strong. Who knows what you could do? You could do a lot. You could do a lot here. And I think, but no matter what they do, I think MJF is going to get the victory here in the forum. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I enjoyed putting it out. As always, fly high. I'm out.